What's going on, everybody? It is Coach Jan, and welcome to Tai Chi to the People. And today we are going to focus on an exercise or a posture or a position that can be applied to hooks, that can be applied to underhooks, and that can be applied to many other martial scenarios. So we're going to go through a gamut of exercises that'll help you with this. Sam is joining right now. So, and anybody's welcome to join this. This is open to the community every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, no, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sam, what's going on? Good to see you. Sam's coming in from the Philippines. And we're going to get right to it today because today we're going to end a little early. So, Sam, good to see you. Good to see you. And so, Sam, I just mentioned that what we're going to be doing today is a posture, and you guys may have seen this posture. I'm sure you've seen this posture many, many times. But the hooking posture, oftentimes when you throw a hook in boxing, the concept of having the hand in front of the heart is very similar to the concept of ward-off. And so we're going to work with this shape, this wonderful shape of the...
Sweeping up.
There we go. It's going to mute. There we go. And we're going to get to it, guys. All right. So let me make myself full screen and get right to it. All right. So Tai Chi to the People, of course, once again, is, as I say every week, is brought to you by Justice for Hire, which is our show, our martial arts cinematic universe that we're building with the community. So be sure to check us out and justiceforhire.com to learn more about this show that we're producing with characters worldwide, people worldwide. Anybody can be part of the cast. It's free to join. Really, really fun stuff. Just had a bunch of folks join this afternoon in some of the promotions that I was doing. So realworld.com or REELWURLD is my production company that's producing Justice for Hire. We have patent pending technology. So we are currently on WeFunder. Anybody can buy stock in our company and work with us on expanding our cinematic social network. Again, patent pending stuff, really amazing technology, community, production work that we're doing. So check us out. And of course, you can be a part of this channel by either subscribing, liking, sending comments. I always love the great comments that I get on these videos. So please keep them coming, and you can support more videos by becoming a patron on patreon.com/JansTaiChi, JANSTAICHI. So let's get right to it with this concept. So first, let's warm up. Really always take the time to bring yourself into your aligned self. What I mean by that is that you may just start out and all of a sudden go into beautiful Tai Chi movements or Kung Fu movements, etc. But you may not have taken the moment to center yourself. So take this moment, always take that moment to center yourself. Imaginary strength lifts you from the top of the head. The tailbone falls straight down. You want your standing posture, your at-rest standing posture to be the moment that you find all of your alignment. Then you bring that to everything else that you do. Feet shoulder width apart and parallel. Palms facing flat down, special attention on the middle finger of each hand, mouth closed, tongue on the ceiling of the mouth. All the breathing in and out through the nose, slight tension in the anus, inhale to the belly. Exhale, wash the color down. Giving the sensation of breathing a color, whatever intuitively comes to you. See that color gather in the belly with your eyes open, and exhale, push the color up through the shoulders, down the arms to the palms and fingertips, going straight down. The hips should feel like a bowl of water, full to the top. So you don't want to spill it in any direction. So that means when you drop the tailbone, notice that the hips drop. The hips balance out. And notice that my groin is not flexed and pushing forward. That's a different technique that sometimes is valuable, other times can be detrimental to your posture. So just drop straight down. Inhale deep. Exhale, wash down. Exhale, wash the color down the nose, the palms and fingertips, inhaling up. Exhale, pushing the color out. The last exercise was Gilded Pillar. This exercise is uplifting heavy. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Breathing formula 2, inhaling up. Inhale even deeper. You're intensifying the breath, exhaling down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Pushing the color visualization out the arms and down the legs as you exhale. Breathing formula 3, inhaling up. Exhale, push the color out through the palms and fingertips. Inhale, stage 1. Even deeper, stage 2. Deeper, stage 3. Exhale. And the 4-stage inhalation, inhaling up 1. 2, even deeper. 3, even deeper. 4, even deeper. So notice that my shoulder blades just pushed up here, even before I did the lift with my palm. So shoulder blades opening up, go up, exhale, through the whole body. Really feel that stretch in the back. And now we're going to do the same 4-stage inhalation, but we're going to do belly, obliques, lower back, and then the entire waist, everything moving, expanding all at once. So belly goes forward. The obliques expand to the sides. The lower back expands. Inhale even deeper. And now the entire waist, all directions, exhale. Beautiful. And widen the stance. We're doing our half horse stance. So, as you guys know, shoulder length and a half apart. Exhale, pelvis rotates on the femur. Inhale, breath pulls it to the side. Eyes on the belly button. Exhale down. Inhaling up. Exhale. One more, inhaling up. The breath should feel like a rope that you're climbing. Exhaling down. And then reverse. Inhale, the breath pulls you up. Exhale. As you inhale, you should feel and see the color pulling into the belly. Eyes on the belly button. Exhale. See that color pushing out. Drop the arms. Inhale, breath lifts the wrists. Exhale out. And I want you to stay right here. And we're going to hug the tree, hugging the tree. So palms facing the heart, chest. And keep your half horse stance. There are so many, and I don't think I ever did maybe I did. I'll check and see if I did a Tai Chi to the people about this one posture. There are variations of this posture. The Wu style would have it done here. As a matter of fact, we'll do a bunch of variations right now because this will help us go through the gamut of variations, breathwork variations that are in this one posture, which is a very famous, potentially the most famous Qigong posture. So here, some people, you might see them do it very wide and low. Right now, I have the half horse stance. The eyes are open and forward, inhaling into the belly, exhaling through the hands. Let's be even more specific. You're going to inhale and draw the color in through the inside of the arm down into the belly. When you exhale, you're going to feel that color push up the shoulder blade, come down the outside of the arm, and wash off the fingertips with the intention of feeling that in the space between your fingers, almost feeling like there's electricity jumping between the fingertips. So you're going to inhale, sucking the color in through the fingertips on the inside of the arm into the belly. And exhale, pushing it down the shoulders, jumping between the fingers. And so you've created this visualization, this circuit. And you keep on 6 breaths there. Always feel free to adjust your posture, dropping the tailbone, mastering your string, lifting you up. Now we're going to switch the breathing, not the posture, but the breathing. If we were going to do a Wu style posture, we would drop the elbows down and put it out. Still hugging the tree. It's just a variation. But right now we're going to keep this Yang style posture, which means the Yang style is going to have a little more space, more of a lifted elbow. So you're going to inhale only through your right side, drawing the color up, and exhale down only the left arm. Inhale up into the right arm through the soft part, exhale down the left arm, down the hard part. Inhale up the inside, exhale down the outside. 6 breaths. Now, everyone's at a different level of proficiency when it comes to visualizing the breath work, which is a vehicle for your attention, which helps you guide your circulation. Wherever the attention goes, the circulation increases. Doesn't matter if you do Tai Chi or not, that's just how your body and your mind work together. So really developing the strength, just like weightlifting, to doing this over and over again, is going to increase your experience, increase the data that you receive and your ability to control your own circulation. Let's switch sides, inhaling through the left side, exhaling down the right. Inhaling it from the inside of the arm into the belly. Exhale from the belly, down, all the way down. Great. Now, inhale deep and exhale, shifting onto one side. We're going to stand up a little bit now, keeping the same posture. And just holding the posture. Slight bend in the knees, weight mostly on the heels. So now we're in our standing posture. And now we're going to just start swinging the waist, release the back hip. And just find yourself keeping this posture. Give it 1 breath per side. So inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. You guys have seen us do this before when we've done different variations of working from the hugging the tree exercise to the crank movement. You've seen that. And we will talk about that in a moment, but I want you just to start feeling the connection between this posture and some other martial applications. So let's focus on the hook now. The hook is going to have a gentle hollow fist, and it's going to squeeze on impact and release just for a moment. That hook, some people throw their hooks with their palm facing their chest. Some people do it with the palm facing the ground, as you can see here, palm facing the ground or palm facing the chest. Because I have wrist issues on both sides, it's easier for me to do palm facing the ground. So we're going to swing. And notice that when one arm is swinging the punch, the other arm is protecting the head. So we have the same posture that we were just doing, but now we're protecting the head on whatever side we're going to. I'm going to my swinging toward my left hand is up. If I'm swinging toward my right hand is up, protecting my temple, specifically my temple. This little button that if you get hit really hard, you go to sleep. So you want to be cautious. And so really swing this. Now look, I'm maintaining my posture. I'm maintaining this shape. I'm really not doing much movement at all. It's very, very Tai Chi. Boxing is very Tai Chi at times. And so really keeping that posture. If you were to slow it down to be able to feel all of these wonderful, all that wonderful alignment and balance. So we're going to take this exercise and we're just parallel to the ground. Notice that the arm is parallel to the ground. And we're going to start putting it on an angle. One is going to come over, an overhand. The other one's going to come as a body shot upward or a side uppercut, but really more of a body shot. So the body shot cutting it, and we're going to cut this way, and then next we'll do the other side. So like we're creating an X. I like to inhale up and exhale down. Inhaling up, agreeing with the body mechanic of the lungs inflating, and exhaling down, collapsing, collapsing. But notice that when I'm doing this, besides some load, you might see a load here, but for example, you drop here, boom, throw the punch out. But notice that where it finishes in front of the heart. Sometimes you might do it in front of the nose if you're doing an uppercut, but for now, we're finishing in front of the heart. So, boom, the overhand. Notice that again, finishing in front of the heart. This overhand can easily become an elbow, but we're going to focus on, again, this shape that we did from hugging the tree. So we still have the same shape. Now we've just changed the angle, and we've dropped one arm and lifted the other. Dropping, exhale, inhaling up, exhale, inhale. I also do my best on the exhalation to soften into the groin, soften down. You really want to make sure that your Tai Chi is not limited to the perception of speed. So what I mean by that, I want to unpack that statement, that oftentimes you will find people saying that if you're moving too fast, it's not Tai Chi. There's a difference between fast movement and shortening the distance between decisions. Two completely different ideas. That means that if we're playing push hands and I touch you with my finger and then I push you back with my finger, but it's really just that. 1, 2, 1, 2. I've done this before on people's arms, elbows, etc., and knocked them off balance. Not because I have superpowers, because I'm aware of where their balance is. And so I know that if I move them this way, they'll probably want to go that way. If I push them that way, they'll probably lift the hip up. So really simple concepts. But taking I'm not moving faster. I'm just taking the pause between the 1, 2, shortening that time. I'm taking more space out of the distance between my first decision and my second decision. That can be perceived as speed. Oh, that person is moving faster. That can be applied to a punch and a kick. Notice how long it took me to throw that kick, the distance between this decision and this decision. And if I do this, it just starts to look a little faster, but I'm really just taking the time away in the middle versus throwing the hand faster and throwing the leg faster. So when you do your Tai Chi, even in your forms, you can change, shorten, or remove space in between movements, and it'll start to look faster, but it's not necessarily faster. It's really just more, it's the fact that you've removed space in between the decisions between each move. So really important to differentiate because that applies right here. You want to make sure that you're making clear decisions to shift the weight into one leg and feel the wrapping around the leg, the same way you'd feel in one of your Tai Chi postures. All the way down, and inhale, shift the weight and come up. Exhaling. So notice that the body looks like it's changing, but the same principles are in place. So my hand is in front of my heart. My weight is shifted to one side, about 70% of the weight. I'm still shoulder width apart, but I've shifted 70%. My other foot here is pivoting, so the heel is up. That means that I'm using the 3 nails concept from William C.C. Chen. Heel, ball, the foot, big toe. My ball of my foot and my big toe are nailed into the ground, the pivoting leg, but the heel is up. Boom, coming up here. I have the weight coming onto this leg, but the majority of the weight's on the inside still, even though the crease is not emphasized. And this hip pushing forward to help me twist the waist and the hip. So let's do a few more. 1, 2. And you should find over time, as you're taking these details into account, this should feel great and smooth and easy. And when you slow it down, when you slow it down, even use it in your push hands, because all of this can be utilized in push hands, because all they are shapes. It's not really a punch unless you make it a punch. It's not really an elbow. It's whatever you want it to be. This is also a throw. Step through and you have a nice hip toss. So all these things, one movement, lots of applications, is switch sides. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhale. And when you inhale, you can even lead through the fingertips if you want. Exhale. This is another variation of just keeping the hands soft. Exhaling down, inhaling up. Exhaling down, inhaling up. Still, notice heart, hand. So I'm not putting unnecessary tension or energy expenditure into my hand, meaning that I'm not overextending it or throwing it down. I'm really just doing my best to let the breath pull the body and push the body while the shape is maintained. And exhaling, visualize that color pushing out the belly, down the arm, through the knuckles, as you soften that groin, finishing mostly on the ball of the foot, but still having an anchor in the heel. Shifting the weight, inhaling up. And notice that when the other hand is not punching, it's dropping into the same defensive position, protecting the temple. Exhaling down, inhaling up, exhaling. Even when I'm doing the overhand, protecting the temple. The elbow is straight down, just like in a Wu style Tai Chi form. Wu style Tai Chi, elbows down. The elbows down help to minimize the tension in the shoulders and help the arms act like blades. So blades cutting down, cutting into the opponent. Really, really wonderful. Wu style is great. So dropping down, inhaling up, elbow dropping down. But notice, even in that posture, drop down, that there's space. There's still space between the elbow and the rib, which is good. In boxing, you don't want to have yourself so tight that the elbows are right on the ribs, because if you take that impact, it's going to go right through the rib cage and it's going to suck. It's going to likely be painful if you get hit really hard. So you want to keep a little bit of space so that you have that buffer. So it hits here, it'll probably push the body, the elbow into you, but it'll lessen the impact. It'll absorb some of it here on the muscle and then come in. So you just lessen the pain and the impact. So really pay attention to your defense as much as the offense, because the offense you're exhaling through or inhaling through. The breath is going through there. Another note for those who might be aware of the reverse breathing Tai Chi principles from Grandmaster William C.C. Chen is the concept of the yin hand, or the non-active hand, still being active to a certain extent to help you complete the shape. What that means is that, let's say this is from William C.C. Chen's form, from the punch here, my inhalation's going through the tricep, well, through the fingers, inflating the tricep, going to the lower dantian of the belly, 70% of my weight on my foot here. Now look at this hand. This hand is actually, as this inflates, this hand reaches down. Inhaling, exhale. So you load, inhale, right here. So the shape is being completed all the way through the fingers on the other arm. The same principle happens in Wu style, but it's explained differently. In Wu style, the brush knee, as an example, eye, nose, middle finger, eye to middle finger, breath pushing to the wrist, not through the hand. In Wu style, my breath is emphasized into my wrists more than coming out of my fingertips. Elbow down, shoulder blade push forward, but look at the other hand. My coach, Josh Waiskin, saw a picture of me doing Tai Chi in Spain on the beach in Marbella. And he pointed out, my father still has this picture on his desk, that my hand was not energized. That was one of the greatest notes I've ever gotten. That really showed me Josh's mastery. He was like 28 at the time. I was like 24, 22. He's 40 years old. I was like 24. He's 29, so I was like 25. And, or it might have been 23. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that he noticed that my hand was like this. And he's like, it's not energized. He's like, you should probably fill that hand. And I appreciate that so much. So I had to start making sure that I had a little more intention here to fill the arm, to complete the shape. Totally different feeling, totally different feeling. My intention was not full here, even though this is the active hand. You have to make sure that the passive hand still has full intention. So that applies here. This hand, which is the passive hand, still has the full intention to guard. So I still have some idea in this hand creating that shape, finishing and completing the shape. This wouldn't exist without this, and that's an important way to think about it. And that'll help you with your guard if you're sparring, to know that, hey, I'm playing with this opponent, but this one strike doesn't exist without my guard. So really, really important stuff. So let's finish a few more of these and we'll move to the next one. Inhale, exhale down. Inhale, shifting the weight. Make sure you really focus on the shift. Whether you keep your hands open or closed. I recommend doing both. Maybe you do 10 with the fingers open. And remember, when you close the fingers, all that does is shorten the shape. So you're still inhaling and exhaling through these knuckles, index and middle finger knuckles. So you inhale through those knuckles all the way up the soft part and exhale down those knuckles all the way out, almost like you have blades coming out those knuckles when you exhale. So exhaling down, inhaling up. And so when you start to, really important note before we move on to another exercise, you can speed this up to boxing speed. Really loosen up. My first choreographer, some of you may know him, Ian Morgan, Muay Thai champion. He was a year older than me, or 2 years older than me in high school, and he was my father's first champion student in Tai Chi and sparring. And so Ian pulled this exercise, this whole set, from a champion kickboxer, a female kickboxer, who would use this to warm up her hands, and she had a really, really nice overhand body shot combination. So remember, you're throwing the combo so that you can go high and low. So you really want to be able to make sure that you're always doing this from the idea of working your martial thinking. So once you get the health and wellness component of it and the body mechanic component, then you can start to bring in some more intentional martial work. And when I say that, I mean, it's the difference between the hit and not hit. A lot of times I'll tell people that I'm training with, my students in particular, that you want to remove the fight from your form. Because if you're always thinking about fighting your form, you have all this tension. Fighting has a bunch of connotations to it that causes tension in the body. So for me, it's really tough to think about fighting while I'm doing my form. I do my best to think about posture, to think about circulation, the flow, etc. And I recommend doing the same here. However, I don't mean don't think about the martial application at all. Eventually, you want to bring that in for a little bit so you can feel the punch and you can feel your intention whipping up and whipping through the breath in the arm when you either exhale or you inhale. Even if you do an inhale in the overhand, which sometimes I do, inhaling to bring the tricep up. So you can inhale or exhale, but it's really just important for you to have a firm foundation in one of those methods of breathing first, and then bring your martial thinking into it. So I just highly recommend that, and also recommend doing it in a front stance, meaning that if you're going to do your hooks like we did before, keep 1 foot forward, 70% of the weight forward, and really find yourself. Here we go. Notice that back. I'm keeping weight fully on one leg, and then I shift weight to the other leg. So now we're just varying the stance. That's all we've done. We're doing our hooks again, parallel to the ground, and slowing it down, exhale, shift the weight, and transfer. Coming closer to the camera, one arm protecting me, this arm, this hand in front of the heart. And this will absolutely appear in your sparring or even your push hand. And we'll get to push hands in a second about how and why this is so important for push hands, because it's super important. I can't stress how important it is for us, especially as the US Tai Chi push hands team. The US Tai Chi push hands team, I just want to say this, especially under my coaching, because I had to develop my style that was different than Josh and Dan's. Josh Waitzkin and Dan Caulfield had their own style that we all attempted to emulate because they were so profound with their push hands careers in the sport of Tai Chi push hands, specifically the Tai Chi World Cup in Taiwan, and what they did and what they achieved. My father and I got pulled onto the team because we were Wu style practitioners with very particular with a very particular focus, because we were really coached by our Sifu Kif Tong to focus on the pummeling aspect, the constant chopping inward for Wu style. So that got us recruited onto the team. And that, plus my experience as a Sanshou fighter from college. I fought on Li Tai Lang's team from the Beijing coach. And so fighting plus the Wu style. So what I'm getting at is that the boxing mechanics, especially after Josh retired, were one of the main things that helped me understand the difference between some of our thinking and the Taiwanese thinking for Tai Chi push hands. So a lot of times when I would find, and you could feel free to share this with, like, when we're friends with the Taiwanese team, we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. But when they do their arm drags are the jab. So the equivalent of a jab in boxing in judo is the sweep, and the equivalent of a jab in boxing in Tai Chi push hands, the sport, is the arm drag. Always going for the arm drag. Always going for the arm drag. Really, really wonderful stuff. The Taiwanese are the best in the world at it, hands down. And so the way that we would refute their arm drag is with the hook. Now, the hook is in the Tai Chi form, of course, many different times. In Wu style, you'll find it right here. And then you'll find it here again. And then you'll have your roll, your press, and some of you may step back and do the shadow fist. Some of you may step forward and do the shadow fist. What I'm getting at is that you have this wonderful hook, and I have many drills based on this one motion and hooking the arm drag. So if someone's going for the arm drag or shooting for an underhook, you hook the underhook and you make them uncomfortable, and you can set up a combo and throw them from there. But notice that all of this is still coming from this L-shaped arm, which is right here hugging the tree, which is why it's very important to what we're talking about right now. So if you're standing with this front stance, notice that we're already getting more into our push hands posture. If you're doing push hands with either Wu style or Yang style, you still have your front stance. And that front stance is going to vary, but any Tai Chi practitioner that is very serious about their stance work should be able to achieve the same power, whether it's standing in a very short front stance like I am right now, that looks like I'm a very casual person, or you're standing in a very long front stance. And whichever one it is, the mechanics are still going to be the same. Your flexibility and your awareness of your roots and how the bones and the muscles align to help you bring your mind into the ground and lock yourself into that position. All that comes into play. So if I'm boxing here, or if I'm boxing here, or playing push hands in either of those stances, same ideas. So here we are, and now let's talk about this for push hands. So here, look at this posture. I'm throwing my hook. It looks like I'm throwing my hook. But when we talk about the 50-50 clinch in push hands, which is the posture, anytime you're doing freestyle push hands, you get a little bit closer. If you don't know what the 50-50 clinch is, just Google it online, but it's essentially when two people are hugged up together, shoulder to shoulder. One head, my head here, the opponent's head is probably going to be over here, and we have the same foot, their left leg, my left leg forward, their left hand forward, my left hand forward. And look at this. If I have an opponent here, and I start moving my opponent, same concept as the hook. I just expanded my shoulder line to fit their body. Notice that my guard is still pinning their arm. If I have their left hand here and their body here, I start moving. Maybe I keep my hand up, maybe I drop it to the elbow, but it's the same mechanic as this hook. So we're training the same mechanic and just applying it differently. There's a difference between a push and a strike, and there's a difference between a grab and a snatch and sticking, all of these things still utilize very similar looking postures. So we want to use this posture to move our opponent, to take them where we want them to go, to potentially have the arm around the waist rather than striking a face. Use this entire surface area to lift your opponent and move them. Use the surface area to move them where you want them to go. And use the footwork. Notice that I fully transfer. I can let go of the opponent if I wanted to. Fully transfer the weight. Should I say, fully get your twist and fully feel firm, 70% of the weight on that leg. Important to note as well that if you were in a posture here, in a position here where you want to throw the opponent behind you for whatever reason, then one of the things you would do is open up the back leg by pivoting on the heel. So notice I turn the toe and the knee out before I turn. So here, toe, knee out before I shift the weight, and boom. You have the opponent now in that direction. That little turn, I always say, make sure that your toe and your knee always move together. There's really never a scenario in my experience where it's a good idea to not do that. And the moments where I do intentionally deviate from that are very, very brief, and they're very intentional, but they're also very dangerous. So here, if you're going to throw the opponent the other direction, let's actually work that idea for a second. And then we're going to get into how this posture can suck air out of your opponent. Sucking air out of your opponent is so important. Squeezing the air out of them every time, and it's really less about you pushing it out and more about you not allowing them to breathe more air in. So we'll talk about that in 1 second here. So we're going to go from one side, open up the back heel, pivot on the back heel, open up the knee, and point the toe toward the wall. So knee and toe at the same time, moving the same direction, and you have your hook that comes all the way across. That hook movement is really you moving your opponent's body all the way around. Open up the back foot. I'm just gonna, just in case you can't see, because the light, I'm gonna make sure that you can see this right here. Let me bring, all right, here we go. So just bring my foot up. Notice my toe and my knee. This is my toe moving by itself. So right here. Now notice that if I even have someone's knee here, if you have knee to knee, for just as a tangent example, you turn the knee and the toe at the same time. If you ever want to push against your opponent's knee, turn the knee and the toe at the same time. I'm pivoting on my heel. So the same concept, pivoting on the heel. And you don't want to have your weight on it either. So you don't want to pivot with weight on your foot, because that'll potentially do some serious damage to your kneecap. So, all right. Actually, 1 second. Sam, I'm pausing. Okay, cool. I had to plug in my laptop. All right, so all we're talking about is making sure that we pivot the heel and the toe at the same time on the foot that we're transferring to. So I'm on my front leg, open up the back, and throw. Now I'm going to go back, open up, and throw. And remember, because we're moving someone's body here, the 1-2, I mean the flat left-right movement, is actually not the most efficient thing to do. What you want to also bring into this, and I recommend doing this for the most part in all of your movements, is starting to add another axis of power. So you want to make sure that it's not just left and right, it also has up and down, and also has an angle, the diagonal. So that means that if I'm loading here, I'm probably lifting my opponent up a little bit as I turn. It's not that I'm going high-low like this. Very subtle, but notice that my hand is slightly lifting up, up, because I'm uprooting them and I'm lifting them out of their root. However, you can do the exact opposite, and you can drop them and drag them down. So whichever one is best for the situation, Also certain postures on the opponent's arm. This really goes for any particular movement, swiveling, especially if you're dragging the opponent and moving their weight. Being able to know when you want to lift them out of the root and when you want to pull them down into their into some place where they can't step, especially. That is really, I really differentiate that you want to lift them out of the root at times, and other times pull them into a place that they can't step. So, but I will research my own statement even more deeply as well to make sure that for its accuracy. So, do 2 more. Open the back, toe and knee, swing. Open the back, toe and knee, swing. Open the back, toe and knee. And now let's talk about. This is one of my favorite moves. I got this on Coach Dan Caulfield once. But it's using the hook posture to throw a hip toss. And so a lot of times you'll see someone put their arm around someone's neck and lift them up and toss them. So there are many different ways to do this. And I'd also say that you can apply the same concept to the underhook. As a matter of fact, let's take a step back before I talk about around the neck. Let's use this as a bridge, the underhook. So now we have this concept here. You guys have seen the underhook. So the underhook is when you're in the 50-50 clinch, an underhook is essentially having your arm under someone's body inside and then going up right around the scapula or the shoulder, etc., etc. So you're holding someone from that position. An overhook is when you have the hook over the arm. The arm's over your opponent's arms and oftentimes wrapped inside, meaning that I'm going inside their arm, almost like this, going inside. So overhook is from the outside, underhook is from the inside. In holding the golden bowl, the third exercise in the 12 yin set of Neigong, it doesn't look like it sometimes, but it actually is 2 underhooks. And what I mean by that is that it can be applied to 2 underhooks. I'm not defining this as the only application of this posture. So this posture is great. Now it's important to note that this posture, this underhook, can still be applied to some very basic Kung Fu Tai Chi mechanics of aligning the hand with the heart. And when you deviate, know why you're deviating and how you're deviating. So that is a very Wing Chun principle, meaning that I'm striking from my center line. The center line awareness is so important, and being able to know when you deviate from it, why you deviate from it, and when you want to bring yourself back, massively important, especially in Tai Chi push hands, in my experience. So this underhook or overhook, notice that we're going to start bringing this concept in right now. So we're going down, coming up, going down, coming up, underhook, right here. So the hook is now an underhook. It's me pummeling in and getting a great dominant position or a strategic position on my opponent within a 50-50 clinch. That opponent might think they pinned my arm, because remember, they're probably going to have my underhook in their elbow. They may be pinning with their elbow, meaning that their elbow is dropping straight down, and or if they're less sophisticated, they're squeezing their elbow, which is a good thing if they are less sophisticated, because this costs extra energy, costs extra mental work to squeeze like that versus just drop the elbow down and have a structural pin rather than a hard squeeze. So that's another note. But if you have this underhook, you want to make sure that you're using the same mechanic, or I recommend, you do what you want, I recommend using the same mechanic as a way to get in a similar way that you would throw the uppercut. A similar way, remember the uppercut, the hook, the overhand, they're all the same punch, they're all the same shape, thrown on different axes. So if you're doing the underhook, you're still shooting from center line, opening up the hip and the waist, and getting that position. Now, why is this position important in push hands? Because one of the most dominant ways that I've ever played push hands, and when I say dominant, I mean really working with, if I'm working with somebody who is susceptible to this type of mechanic, it is I want to choose my words carefully here. It's a very empowering feeling for the practitioner. And you don't want to get, go on an ego trip and feel like you're the best in the world, etc., because you're crushing somebody with these techniques. But it's really interesting. So underhook, and now the concept is going to be pay attention to their breathing. Super important, because when someone exhales, you're going to close the distance and soften. When they inhale, you're going to inhale as well and take even more space. You're going to make them want to exhale. When they exhale, you're going to soften into that position. So, and you can also do the exact opposite of that breathing, but strategically time it to take space. What I'm getting at is that this posture and you throwing this shape out there is going to help you create the first point of contact and then connect the second point, which is going to be your shoulder or your chest or your belly, to your opponent, and start taking their space. And you really want to take their space because they're going to want to expand out of it. Now, it looks like I'm squeezing my muscles together, but what I'm really doing is I'm softening and getting smaller. So I'm not squeezing to retract. I'm softening and dropping my weight. Notice that my hips are dropping forward. If I had an opponent here, I'd actually use this to drop my hips onto. If I take this chair and just use this same concept and drop my level down, I'm here and I drop into the opponent. I can feel the pressure increase on my fingertips. That pressure is going right into the opponent's hips. So when you feel that, you're going to find that they're going to want to spring out of it. Now, we can talk about the hip toss. And even before, there's two different ways. There's a bunch of different ways. That hip toss from right here is going to be you inhaling and reaching up to this posture, potentially even this posture. So you're going to use this to set up a spring inside your opponent's hips and legs. They're going to get so uncomfortable. It's going to be so much more challenging to breathe. And you're going to sneak up on them as they inhale up. Watch my back leg comes up. And you're going to turn them. And maybe you'll step out, or maybe you'll step across. And their body will fold over your hips and they will roll down to the ground. Now, of course, it's really important that this has to be done with great timing, great sensitivity, etc. I'm not saying that every time you do this, that you're going to get that same result. You actually have to drill it. You have to drill it very intentionally. And if you want to see a video on exactly this technique and this move, I will happily make one. Just write it in the comments, etc. And I'll do it with a partner, and potentially I'll do it Friday night at the Kung Fu school. And so on the mats, we can actually do the throw. But what I'm getting at is that the importance of you dropping here and having all of these mechanics that we just talked about, that we've been training the entire time, the parallel, the knowledge, and you should know and feel every time you're parallel to the ground. When you're doing this upward angle, you should absolutely feel the intentional hip movement, the weight shifting to one side completely. And when you're throwing that overhand posture, softening into the crease of the groin and feeling that wrapping down the leg, because all three of those and more are going to come into play for this one move. So I'm dropping my weight to the opponent. They want to spring up. I bring one hip back, or I step across and I spin. Notice that my shoulder's open here. I want to reconnect my shoulder, meaning that I don't want to have pulled back and open. I want to reconnect it forward. So I'm going to reconnect it by lifting it up and bringing it right back to that posture that we did before. So if you're a judo player, you probably know this very, very well. And if you're a Greco-Roman player, you might know this as well. The concept here, all of them share very similar biomechanics. So we are lifting, and notice that in Greco-Roman, you might have more of a grab, the same with judo. We're not doing any grabs here with Tai Chi. This is all structural. This is all shape. So these shapes are going to come into play so much, whether you're doing the crank here that we've done in the past, very similar mechanic. And that crank, of course, the Neigong exercise, you can look for it on YouTube, exhaling down, inhaling up, exhaling down. This is a wonderful Neigong exercise that helps you set up that throw. Inhaling up, one hand is dropping, dragging, the other hand is pushing across. but it's only an intentional push because notice that it stays connected to the center of my chest the entire time. Inhaling, the triceps of my lower hand are inflating, and the upper hand is gently pulling on the scapula or the shoulder of the opponent. This is pulling, this is pushing. Exhaling, this is dropping and dragging on that same shoulder or scapula, and this is pushing across, only intentionally, still in line with my heart. So, front stance, whether you're boxing or playing push hands, you're playing your push hands, and you weave in and you pummel in to get that underhook. You drop in, you put the weight into the shoulder, do the fingers down into the opponent's hips right around here. Then opponent starts to spring up. You bring the foot forward and in, and you start to angle your hips out. Inhale. Let's just look at this moment for a second. Inhale, overhand. It's coming up and it's turning to overhand. Exhale, drop down. Now, you may even need to turn and look the other way. What that means is, here, I'll do it from this side. Drop down, up, boom. Notice that I'm looking in the same direction as my fingers are pointing. So if I drew the opponent down, my hand is still in front of my heart, and my head is turned all the way across because it's helping me torque, helping me twist and drop that opponent down on the ground. This is completely a throw. You can still do this if you're doing it high. Let's do it low one more time. Under, drop in, step, inhale, up, 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 exhaling down. And notice I'm turning my head. I'll do it this way. Inhale up, dropping in, retract that back leg, step up. And now I'm pulling one shoulder, or maybe have their elbow, and I'm lifting the other shoulder up over the hip, exhaling, turning. In judo, they might pull, meaning they'll pull the arm across the body, and the hand that's up here that turns into the overhand might, one of the visualizations that's been taught to me is by Oishi, Olympic judo Olympian in Tribeca, New York, is to bring the opponent's head into the belly. So his intention is to bring their head into the belly. And you can do that even if you're on the shoulders, really intentionally putting that area of the body, the shoulder, chest area, into your belly if you're not playing with the head and push hands, which a lot of times in push hands you don't. A lot of times you'll play collarbone to hip. If you do play with the head, all you have to do is think about throwing a hook. Boom. You're throwing the hook. Notice that I'm still throwing here. It looks a little bit more whippy. There are a bunch of different hooks too. There's wide hooks, there's smaller hooks. Today we focus mostly on just maintaining this 90-degree L shape of the arm. But if you're going to throw a hook, think about aiming, faking the hook if you want to get the hip toss, and aiming right here. Aiming right for the inside of the elbow. And in a similar way, if you're throwing these hooks, you're going to step across with that. When you step across, that's when you really get the hip toss. Here I am with my head looking in the direction that I want to spin the opponent in. And so let's slow that down. I'm going to use the back leg this time. You can do 1 and 2 step forward. And so if you want to turn this into a drill, I recommend front leg, pivot, back leg, step across, and then you can reset. Or you can just do back leg, step across each time and do back leg, step across, come up, back leg, step across, come up, back leg, step across. And of course, bring your breathing into it. Make it a Tai Chi exercise. Any exercise can become a Tai Chi exercise if you put attention to posture, breathwork, and visualization. So let's turn that into a Tai Chi, Qigong, Neigong style exercise. Softening here, hands coming up. Load on one side. Exhale, sink. Inhale, come up. Notice that I'm going to spin. See my front leg here? I'm spinning, pivoting on my heel. Ball the foot and the toes and the knee turning in the same direction, opening up. I step and I throw across. Notice that my hand is in front of the heart. Throw across. Inhale up. Weight is mostly on my back leg as I pivot the front, step into the front, and go across. I am aiming for the head or neck more specifically the neck. I want the neck to go right into that pocket of the elbow. And let's do it going across and step, step. And a lot of times in the boxing postures, even just now for me demonstrating it, it may be challenging to feel the Tai Chi in it. So if you don't feel the Tai Chi, if you feel blocky, if you feel tense, if you feel like, oh, this is just fighting and this is etc., then I challenge you to soften even more. Meaning, how can you really feel the circulation in this moment? Step out, exhale, shift the weight forward. Really become more about the details. Inhaling up, exhaling across. Inhale up, exhale forward, shifting the weight. Inhaling up, exhale across. And then you can turn the other direction. Inhaling up, open the foot, exhale, shift the weight forward. Feel the transfer fully, release the back hip. Inhaling up, 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 and exhale. Cross. Inhaling up, exhale. And this has really got to be based on your experience in Tai Chi and your ability to put your mind and the breath work into the body and flood it and let it come back in and flood it again. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. I always am open to any thoughts, questions, or ideas, because at the end of the day, what we're really here to do is expand the vocabulary of Tai Chi into other arts and pull from other arts into Tai Chi so we can keep on growing the Tai Chi system. So I love you guys, and you can always reach out to me on whether it's janstaichi.com. Jump on my mailing list there because there's some cool stuff coming up. What else? Coach Jan's Tai Chi. Oh, no, that's on Patreon, patreon.com/Jan's Tai Chi. If you want to support the channel, see more videos and higher level videos as well. JusticeForHire.com if you want to become part of the show that we're producing, which is the reason we brought back Tai Chi to the people, and realworld.com to learn more about our production company making that happen. You can buy stock for the company on wefunder.com/realworld, REELWURLD. So love you guys so much. I hope you have a great night. Sam, thank you so much, Sam, again, joining from the Philippines, and deep gratitude for you for making the time for this in your day. So love you so much, guys, and have a great night. Talk soon.